To put it bluntly,
Accessibility podcast called To Put It Bluntly.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 20, I think, of To Put It Bluntly, or is it 21?
Hey, hello, whoa, hold the phone there, Wobbles. You're getting a bit behind the times, pal. Hello, everybody, I'm Cameron, the usual co-host of To Put It Bluntly, and unlike Wobbles, I have kept a tab on what episode number this is, and as you can see from the thumbnail of this video, and maybe the description as well, probably the description, it is episode number 22, not 21, or 20, or 4, whatever Wobbles said. So, yeah, this is just a public service announcement just to say this is episode number 22. Don't be confused if you think you've gone back in time. This is confirmed as episode number 22. So just sit back, relax, enjoy the rest of the podcast. I'll pop up later. I may be wearing these clothes, I may not, but I will be wearing clothes. That is confirmed. Okay. Now that we've got that little snafu sorted, it is back to Wobbles, Mikey, and their guest. See you later.
Really good at this. As you know, me and Cameron run a tight ship, so everything's done professionally. We keep track of everything, especially episode numbers, which I've definitely just got wrong. So Cameron will remind me when he is back off holiday. As you can see, or those of you that can see, we are joined by some different faces today. Cameron is currently in Turkey. He's promised me he's not getting hairline done, teeth, or a gastric band, but I don't know. He's going to come back with one of them free, and if you'd like to guess, please comment on the section below. So we have a replacement Cameron this week. He is much better looking and has a full head of hair. He was a guest on a previous episode, and he's a good friend of mine and Cameron's. Welcome in, Mikey.
Hello, thank you. Yeah, I thought you were going to say like it's a before and after of Cameron came back.
Yeah. We've got Cameron before Turkey, and this is Cameron after Turkey. Yeah, hair, beard, teeth, all done immaculately. Yeah.
Oh, he's going to kick my ass when I see him now.
So, as always, we are joined by a guest, and this week's guest is, again, a good friend of mine and Mikey's. We've come to know him quite well over the last, or Mikey the last 12 months nearly, and me over the last 24. It is none other than Paul.
Hi everyone, great to be here. No, lovely to see you both as well.
That's how we do this. There's no set intros, it's great.
Getting used to the process.
Yeah, no, there is no process. This is the wonderment of mine and Cameron's podcast. There is no process. We wing it, and it seems to be working out all right. So yeah, how's everyone's weeks been? It's a Friday. We are getting later on in the weeks with recordings just because me and Cameron are getting busier with work and life commitments. So the podcast release dates are getting a bit left, right and centre at the moment. But we will get back to some form of routine soon, I can imagine. So yeah, how's everyone's weeks been so far?
Great. Generally overworking, but getting through lots of interesting projects, so can't really complain.
Mikey?
Yeah, it's been busy on my end too. Like there's just work, and very little sleep. But it's good.
It's good. He says that and he still looks immaculate. What a dick.
It's just it's lots of makeup.
Yeah, lots of makeup, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't suppose you two have been playing any games then if you've both been working ridiculous amount of hours?
Not as much. A few weeks ago I was playing more of the Indiana Jones Perfect Circle, so getting my way through that, probably about 15 hours in or something.
That was one of my games. That was between that and Star Wars Outlaws for my game of the year last year.
Yeah, they've put some great stuff in it, and there's it's got a really nice kind of fight system. I think they've implemented it, and there's some gorgeous scenery.
It's a very
so I'm enjoying the storyline.
The fighting's very satisfactory when you whack someone properly and you get that FUD. It is great.
It's a weighty audio for it.
There's some weighty audio to say the least. So yeah, it's been quite a quiet week for me. I've been playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 still. That game has just hooked me. I'm in love and enjoying that. and playing FIFA still because I'm an addict. But there we go.
Professional addict.
Professional addict, yeah. What's it they say? The first step to curing yourself is admittance. So yeah, it's there. We're making progress. I now admit I'm an addict.
Close enough, yeah, something like that.
We will, as ever, spend the first segment of this episode talking about our guest. And this week it is, as he's introduced himself, the glamorous Paul. Paul!
I've never been called glamorous before, so thank you. Yes, so I'm Paul Shelley. I'm a freelance technical sound designer by day, so I'm working on different indie games, and then currently this year with the state of the industry, I'm doing a master's at the same time. So I'm up in Leeds, Beckett currently, studying with Dave Raybould, and yeah, I think and kind of lots of personal projects on at the same time. So I feel I've kind of got my game side, my uni side, and my personal project side all just competing for time this year, and I'm just getting through them all and really enjoying them though. Learning a lot, I spend a lot of time in Unreal and Wise, different implementation, and also doing a lot of sound designing for some linear and some in-game kind of dynamic systems. And that's really what I'm spending most of my time on, at least for the next 9 months.
So you just said you kind of at university studying. What are you studying at uni?
Sound effects for games. Kind of exactly what I'm doing at the moment, but there's basically they've got a £80 million building for audio. I can't remember, but maybe built in the last 5-10 years. So we've got some amazing like Dolby Studios, Ambisonics live setups. So there's 16 surround speakers. There's a variety of mastering studios, microphones. So it's kind of got a lot of equipment and kind of opportunities I can do there that I couldn't do from home. So I'm kind of enjoying doing the mix of that, and then there's certain subjects I'm delving into more at the moment, like spatial recordings. So that's more like VR, full surround in 360 sphere audio. And so I'm kind of experimenting these things whilst I'm here.
So you'd studying audio for games design. You're a bit more senior than most university students. How come? What did you do before? Because I know, and so does Mikey, and it's quite a. We like to have guests with unique pathways into the games industry to put it bluntly, and I think yours is definitely up there.
Well, I mean, before I went to uni, I was already freelancing in game audio. But what we're talking about here is before that. I was a violin maker for several years, self-employed down in Birmingham. So I was making and designing violins, violas, cellos, and I spent a large time researching and working on reviving a small type of 5-string cello as well, which is a bit of an international co-project. And then slowly slipped more into the digital sides and eventually made a full transition between the 1600s and wherever we are now.
Yeah. Just a small jump in technology.
Well, I mean, you say that, but there's so many things that were dropped between the 1800s and the 1950s that actually a lot of the technology was top in the 1600s. And then it all just got dropped and people started again. So it's surprising how much technology is still better from the 1600s, which is one of those kind of crossover knowledges that is a bit weird to talk about, trying to work in VR and then saying it was better in the 1600s. Or certain aspects of things, but I enjoy it all.
So how did you you studied violin making quite near to where I grew up, and I didn't have a clue that this small town in Lincolnshire was renowned for violin making.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bubble of a world. So it's very much as both it's very kind of close in the games industry, going to events, and all the disciplines see each other largely around like events in the UK, or if you go to international events, the community is very close, very online, and very connected. And violin making in its own way is kind of similar, except it's a much smaller bubble and it's much further spread out internationally. So, for example, people and friends I was doing research and trips with, like working on certain instruments, One was coming from Japan, a couple were coming from Italy. There's about 5 languages spoken in the car, and that would be more normal, having people dotted around the US or like that. But in terms of the schools, there was about 3 primary schools in Europe historically, which is in Italy, so the kind of Cremona Centre, which was one of the kind of hubs of violin making over the 1600s as well. The school in Mittenwald in the very South German Alps. And then there was Newark, which is where I went. And one of the things that Newark specialised in above the others was kind of independent creation, because they had certain ways that they formulated the schools in Italy and Cremona that had a strictness on what types of what designs of instrument you could make. And Newark was leaned more towards free experimentation design with historical reference and historical reenactment, which is a bit of a grey description. But yeah, it was one of the best schools in the world. Still was. It's changed now. It's been taken over as a uni, and it's not the same, because we spent 50 hours a week at the bench just making instruments. And now it's a university with a lot of writing, I believe, and maybe, I don't know, maybe 20 hours a week. So yeah, it's sad, but the industry's changing. It's it's same as games industry. Certain things are causing its downfall as a global industry. Without going too much straight into that, because that's not really the topic of what we're on it. But yeah.
Why
I'll pause there for a moment.
violins? I've never actually asked you this.
Why violins?
Yeah.
I actually started in guitars, at a guitar building first. I had a friend who went into guitar making. I ended up in violins because I've always appreciated the sound and richness of bowed strings, but the more and more you get into it, they are really the most sophisticated kind of sound engines across a whole spectrum of colors, timbres, like projection, and the characters are so much more evolved, really. So things like the guitar, many of the guitar styles now are very much new redesigns and not necessarily very historical based. There are occasional ones, but violins have this rich history of design that is super detailed since the 1500s. So the instruments are still coming from that knowledge has always progressed, rather than other instruments have either modernized, standardized, or different things have maybe limited them. And so those tonal qualities, and of course going through, I mean, if you're searching for wood for an instrument, you end up just like tapping thousands of pieces of wood till you find tonal characteristics you like, and the whole composition always really attracted me. And I could talk about this for a while.
Yeah, because I randomly came across something on Instagram or something yesterday, and it was a guitar shop in New York that uses bits of wood from historic buildings to then turn them bits of wood into guitars. So people are walking around with guitars made out of Kimoto Ono's first house and things like that, and it's mad.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've just kind of, you don't think about the fact that people are out there that want to buy a violin still made from hand, and you just think everything's so mass produced these days. You do forget that there is people out there that, yeah,
there's absolutely fantastic craftsmen all around the world. It's just it's almost just if you're kind of in the industry, or maybe you're a classical player, you'll know of these people, and if you're not, probably never heard of them ever.
Yeah, no, I thought accessibility was
how it
niche,
works.
and then I started to kind of, over the last few days, look into a bit more of instrument making, and there's a whole different world to it.
There's levels of niche.
Yeah, there's levels of niche, and then there's instrument making, apparently, that's in its whole own, yeah.
I mean, there's peg makers. If you, I mean, one of my friends who's a researcher from a maker in Italy was a string maker. She started off in gut string making before she went into violin making.
That's mad.
And that really is a dying trade before, and there's a handful of people who still make handmade gut strings and have the knowledge for it.
It's got to be one of them crafts that's like is unfortunately dying out, because before I even met you, I'd never heard of anyone that was a violin maker, or I've never walked into someone in a pub and had a conversation when they've gone, I make handmade drum kits. You don't hear that, do you?
I mean, I've probably heard a little bit more, but there's actually a red list of heritage crafts as a UK overview survey. Somehow violin making is not on the head of the list, and this counts as the better end. There's actually like another 100 crafts which are on like there's one person left who can do it kind of level. So it's amazing. It comes with industrialization. It comes with lack of knowledge, lack of understanding in different areas. But it's really sad, and it is hard for many crafts to still be having any sense that it's going to continue for the next 100 years. But there's lots of context, and there's lots of stories within that.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love it. I've I've done that stereotypical like ADHD autism thing after playing Kingdom Come 2. I was like to the wife, I was like, I might do a blacksmithing course, and she's like, for fuck's sake, no, you're not. Don't be a twat.
I mean, I'm all for blacksmithing courses. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. She's like, why? I
listen
was
to
like,
it.
because I've been playing a game where you're a blacksmith. She's like, you're not doing a blacksmithing course. Don't be a twat. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. All right.
I mean, how can you make a blacksmith game if you've never blacksmithed?
Exactly. How did you transition from making handmade instruments out of wood to then a recent discussion talking to you about audios in car crashes in games? It's just a slight transition between fields.
I think it's a smaller transition in my head than it is when other people tell me that it's really weird. So I guess in a way I see it as I've turned a lot of my audio skills digital. So and then when you in doing that requires all of what the technical things you work in, all the software, all the workflows, all the as Mike knows, spend a lot of time on implementation now as well, which is kind of almost more the code side. So it was kind of very natural for me in a way. I started, picking up Reaper skills and working indoors, and then, spending more time just designing sounds. But I mean, I've been training my ears for years and years and years. And things like tuning a violin bridge is actually the same as mastering. It's mastering an object as opposed to a file. In kind of strange crossovers. So there's a lot of skills that kind of came more naturally. And then there's, of course, the whole spectrum of extra skills and new ways of looking at sounds or new ways of mixing sounds, that there's a huge freedom that's in games that's not in violins, just because violin is it's a limited object, and it will be a limited object, although it has a hugely rich spectrum for what it is. Within games, for me, I could just bring in my kind of spectrum of all knowledge and all sounds I like, all concepts I like, all musics I like, and learn to find ways to mix them together, layer, re-synthesize, and find ways to turn that into like interactive systems as well. So for me, it was a very organic process, and just picking up an extra skill, experimenting, designing, learning, and that cycle's just continued to kind of where I am now.
It is a great story. I think it's so niche to go from that to what you currently do, and it brings a whole other skill set, like you said. And so there's a reason we kind of ask you on this week, because my hostess with the mostess, Mikey, is also here. You and the laugh says it all. You and Mikey have kind of strung a friendship, I would definitely say, in the last 8 months, 10 months.
Almost a year, I'd say. What are we in now?
We're in
Yeah, time flies.
Yeah,
Oh, it might have been
February.
July.
It
Yeah,
probably is about 9 months now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Feels like a
I'm
lot
going to
longer.
hand over to you, Mikey. Would you want to just say like how you and, because we obviously touched on develop in your episode,
Yes.
but I'm going to hand over to you and to discuss or mention yours and Paul's relationship and how that's kind of, I won't use the word blossom because that makes it seem a bit but it has blossomed, doesn't it? It's
It has. It's
it
become like
has,
mine and Paul's relationship is better than any relationship I've ever had, including my marriage. I'm joking.
And cut.
Kill me, shit, is that? No, so me and Paul, it was kind of by chance, I think, wasn't it? Like I had been reached out to by Chris from Blind Burners, who we all know. Fantastic guy, and he's so busy. Like he's always busy doing something. I don't think I've ever been able to catch him on a day where he's not the busiest person I've ever met. So he mentioned about Blind Burners and doing events and stuff, and then it kind of just dropped off, and we didn't pick up for a while until I think I posted on a Discord group. Not sure which one it was, one of the accessibility ones. Paul happened to see it and then reached out, and we struck up a conversation. And I think we both realised during the conversations we were having that we were both really into music. Like I've been a musician for like 15 years. Paul's got a extensive music background and audio background, so we kind of clicked over that initially, and then the love of games, similar, personality types, I guess, maybe. I mean, you might find that offensive for me to say that, Paul, that you're similar to me in terms of personality.
No, we are pretty similar.
We kind of bonded a little over that, and then when it came to picking our guides for develop, I kind of said to Chris, listen, I really want Paul. Like it'd be great if I could get Paul. If not, it's fine, but it'd be nice if I could have Paul as my guide. And it turns out Paul was the worst guide on the planet. He was a great guide, but yeah, we just kind of met at develop, and we kind of clicked immediately. I mean, we all did, really.
Yeah.
It's a good group of people, and yeah, one of the things I said to Chris was that it's nice that we all come from so many different backgrounds, but Blind Burners kind of united us. And then yeah, it's been a whirlwind. Like we'd known each other 6 months maybe, and we were like at that point in that time we'd been chatting. I can't remember exactly how long it was when we first started talking to when we eventually went to develop. But then we went to develop
quicker than you think.
Yeah,
maybe
Probably
it
only a
felt
month or
like
two,
it
I
was
imagine, because I kind of remember the process at the time.
Yeah, I think since the pandemic, like my time frames have been completely skewed. But yeah, I think it was relatively short time. Then we went to develop, and after develop, we went to a couple of other events. We went to mostly audio events, and you dragged me along to those. And then we went to Barcelona as well, which was very nice. Nice beaches,
nice beaches.
fun, alcohol.
So
Can't complain.
yeah, I remember the initial meeting before develop last year. Came out from it without knowing the pairings, and I think I messaged Paul straight away and was like, "You need to pair up with Mikey."
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I'd previously spent a lot of the time at my first develop with Paul and Craig, who's another blind burner, and Paul was just really good. Like the Joker side, he is a really good guide, and Paul's got a great sense of humour, and so have you, Mikey, and that's I think why the three of us get along, because we can take the piss out of each other and no one gets offended.
Yeah, I mean, the journey home might be full of tears, but whilst we're there,
Yeah, yeah. My therapist soon finds out about what's gone on. While we're there, it's great fun. But so we've mentioned Blind Burners, and they're a community interest group that organises events around many different areas. And Chris, we've mentioned, is the CEO. I don't know how you want to describe it, of the group, and I met Paul through that at Develop. They organise groups of visually impaired gamers to go to gaming events, or whether that's developers, gamers, and they match them with sighted guides. So Paul has kind of embraced that role more than most, I'm going to say, because Paul has kind of taken that and jumped feet first into the world of accessibility as well as his audio designing. So, Paul, do you want to kind of explain why did you get involved with, how did you get involved with Blind Burners, and why?
Well, the how, I think when I got involved, it was 2 develops ago, wherever that puts us.
Was it 23? Develop
we-
23 was my first one.
Yeah,
So yeah.
must be 23 because that was the first time the Blind Burners started doing live events.
Yeah.
So Chris wanted to start making it kind of taking groups and delegations down to be more involved in the industry and make it a more in-person thing. And at that time, he was looking for guides. I'd seen something on LinkedIn that he was kind of looking to bring people in. So I got in touch and we had a meeting, got on really well. And so that's how it kind of started. I mean, since then, I've been to, I think we've been to about 7 events now. So we've PGC, which we were at recently for a couple of years, Pocket Gamer. Developed Liverpool, like myself and Mikey. Been to Tech Share, some really interesting ones, crossing over different parts of the industry because some of our group have like software backgrounds as well as game background. And I think between everyone in the group, we have quite a wide spectrum of sides of the industry people are coming from, backgrounds people are coming from, extra skills people have. And so there's rarely a situation where it wouldn't be a great time to go down together because we all especially us here as well, really enjoy the networking, going out, just meeting people, spending time in the pub, or in crowds, and it's such a lovely community. So that's kind of how that side's developed. I guess how I got into it in the first place, I've kind of been on the side of kind of social stuff for a while. Like my family is psychologists, my friends work in social care, so my sister's a midwife. It's always been normal conversations for me, kind of understanding this stuff and just kind of appreciating different people's situations in general. So this, I know it sounded like a great opportunity. I'd never really done guiding at the time, but kind of picked it up, spoke to some friends who went through few things and then kind of jumped in really.
So Mikey, we're basically a walking case study. You realise this, right? That's what it's.
No, 2 years ago you were. Now I'm a professional.
Yeah.
It was more of a case study of what happens if I let a blind person walk straight into traffic.
Yeah.
Paul, can you talk about any of the side projects that you're currently developing? If you don't want to, it's fine.
Oh, no, that's fine. I guess on the other side of like the non-guiding stuff, I got interested in kind of accessible developments in games because I'm kind of technically orientated. And one of the projects I've done recently was making a blind VR archery prototype, which actually you haven't seen, Matt.
Where's this come from? Hold on.
The problem with trying to do 3 things at the same time is I haven't got round to doing the videos or like posting the videos because everything needs a little more editing. So I was doing basically like a location system that would follow the tracking of the arrow and give you feedback from how it would hit on the target, and then let you know how to kind of respond from there, working on the basis of blind archery. And so I like doing kind of learning accessible. Well, I say learning accessible. It's a very kind of open area because I've always found accessibility in tech creates incredible innovation in games. It creates just fantastic game design in general. But in terms of what or how, it's very free in terms of, well, I know what feedback I would like to give people. What that is, when that is very flexible and can kind of be added in different situations, and combining those I find fascinating. Whenever I get the time, I kind of try and do more of these projects to be able to just develop the games further, really.
Yeah, so it's not just that you're audio, you're also like delving deep into the programming side and actually the functionality of what it is you're making, rather than.
I mean, yeah, it's a slippery slope. If you want the audio in the game, especially if you work freelance, if you don't get it in the game, no one does.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of ended up spending more and more time in Unreal. But by then you start learning other Unreal systems, or you learn other bits of coding, and as your coding changes, the ideas change, because it's still audio, it's just a different approach. Same as you do yourself, Mikey, being you cross the art and technical art as well in terms of all your projects. So I think that's another thing that's always connected us, that we're very similar in, I guess, not seeing too much of a distinction between the design and the implementation, which makes us busy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's I've not spoke about this to any of you, but I've put in for a talk at Develop, but it's kind of on that topic of not putting yourself into a box, and I think that's what we both don't do, is we don't put ourselves into a box or into a corner. Like, we kind of want to, if we want to implement something, we'll just learn how to do it ourselves rather than relying on other people. And we haven't got the money to exactly pay somebody else at the moment, so I haven't anyway. I don't know about you, Paul, but it's more that if I can watch a tutorial and learn how to implement something, then might as well give it a go. And it might make us, I don't know if it necessarily makes us more hireable or desirable in the industry, but it's just another tool set that we can.
Could you get any more desirable? Jesus.
No. Capped.
Brilliant. So, that's Paul.
Lovely to meet you.
In a very quick nutshell. So, what's the future for Paul? Like, you're obviously looking at, you're doing your degree. Have you is it something, are you still, have you got the weirdest side hustle in the world and you're still making violins on the side, or is it? Paul doesn't sell feed pictures, he makes violins. It's
I'm not actively making things on the side for violins, but because everything's like freelance, some things are still winding down, or different things. Because I had 3 rooms as a workshop when I was a violin maker, so I have been selling off wood supplies, weird things that I've collected over the years. Things like that. So sometimes I have side things, but right now I'm 100% just doing game audio. That's what all my days are spent with. I'm trying to spend a bit more time on designing, because I've had a big technical phase, and also recordings and spatial recordings. And in fact, I've put in for a talk that I haven't told you guys about for June. I'm trying to make a translation between the understanding of violin design, like instrument concept of sound, into field recording, and how to manipulate object resonance. So I've put in that for an online audio conference for June. So it seems we're all going for it this year.
I'm trying to get out of talking for a year. I've I've done my part.
Well, you've done lots. You've done lots.
I've done lots. So I'm trying to take a year off talks.
Your rest.
I'm just going to sit at the back this year and enjoy it, I think. No, I say that as I'm recording for GA Conf this week, but that doesn't matter. That's yeah. So we were going to take a few minutes break, because we've made Paul talk now for half an hour, bless him, and he's probably fed up of me and Mikey asking him questions. So we'll take a couple of minutes break, and then we will be back with some patch notes.
Welcome back, everyone, to Put It Bluntly. We're still here with Paul. We're going to go to patch notes and gaming news.
Perfect. So this week has been a bit of a shitter again, hasn't it? It's the dreaded topic of conversation that always comes up in this segment at the moment. Unfortunately, there's been another week of closures. We've seen, I think Mikey and Paul, I think it was Paul, I don't know which one of you said it actually. One of you went, every time I open up LinkedIn, it's someone looking for a job, or it's a studio being shut, or someone being made redundant.
Yeah, literally every time I open it, it's just another studio's closed down or someone's been laid off. I did see one from someone the other day that said that they've been, I think they've left or been laid off, but didn't specify why. And I was like, you've put something on LinkedIn that's scaring people even more, and not putting any context behind it. But yeah, ultimately, it's like almost every 3 or 4 days there's a new studio closure.
So,
And it's from big companies sometimes as well. But,
yeah, Paul, you said this week your news was going to be about Warner Brothers, was it? Or was that?
Oh, I think that was Mikey. Was
yeah.
the Warner Brothers?
So, do you know it's bad when you can't remember which studio one of you's going to talk about that's closing because there's that.
I mean, it's moving so fast. Like the updates are daily rather than weekly or monthly news, and it's
So my news? I'll finish with mine in a bit. But what got me was the Shadow and Mordor studio. I can't remember the name of it. From Warner Brothers, they've got the Nemesis system, haven't they? That was patented as a in-game system that your enemies learn your style of combat, progressed enemies individually inside the game, and made the enemy stronger after they learnt your combat style and techniques. They've patented that until 2035.
wow.
Okay.
And they've closed the studio with the patent.
So no one can use it.
No.
They can't use it, and no one else can use it.
I don't think so, no.
Great. That's smart.
Yeah. And that's what my news was going to be, is that and obviously Fable 6, but we'll talk about that shortly. But yeah, so they've got a patent for this so-called Nemesis system, which was used in Shadow of Mordor, which is a brilliant game if you haven't played it. And they've patented it, and they've shut the studio. So people are going, you've got this amazing system that game studios could use, but...
It's just gatekeeping, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like that, there's a lot of games that could benefit from that system.
Yeah. And yeah, people are going, so what are you doing with this system you've designed, patented, and locked behind a door, and no one can access it for another 10 years, but you've just shut the studio down that were working on a game using it because it was Wonder Woman. They were working on the next Wonder Woman, the Wonder Woman game, which was using that system inside it. And
that might tie into my news because of it being Warner Brothers. Is it patented to that studio specifically?
I don't know if it's the specific studio.
I'd imagine to Warner Brothers as a whole.
Yeah.
But that's speculation.
Okay.
They have so many hub studios underneath them.
Because they did the Harry Potter. Did they do
though.
the Harry Potter game? Yeah, they did, didn't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're definitely involved with it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just another week where you've got Harry Potter was a very successful game, not last year, the year before. Shadow and Mordor, they were looking at the teams they were using to make the Wonder Woman game, as Mikey said from Warner Brothers, have got great history creating great games. So why the fuck have they just all of a sudden gone, we're going to shut everything down?
I mean, at the very least, even if it's not specific to that studio, they've still now cancelled a game that was going to use an awesome system.
Yeah.
Because the studio shut.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be unusual to sit on a patent for 10 years and not find a way of using it just for them. I mean, even within game, 5-year game cycles, they wouldn't want to waste it if they've got something, that level of advanced. I'm sure it'll resurface in some way, shape or form, and then you find out about it later, whether it was used or not. But,
we don't like to mention it, and Cameron calls it the curse of the Wobbles, because every week I go, we've got no layoffs to talk about this week, and the next week there's a fucking nuke of a layoff, and yeah, it's just it's week after week, and it's people that we know, and it's getting like closer. Like I've known accessibility people that have been let off in the last couple of months as well, and so it is really getting close to home. And
it was scary when that started happening. Like you saw it from people who you didn't necessarily know, and then when it's people you start knowing, it's like, oh shit, like this is serious.
Yeah, and it's not the small. If it was small, like it's small companies that were, you could sit there and go, maybe they are financially struggling because the world's in a shit place. But it's fucking Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I think it's hard to have anyone who doesn't now personally, if it's not them, doesn't personally know someone
Yeah.
closely who's been related to it. And but in that sense, with the the community being so close together as a kind of global, the union talk is getting stronger as well. And France had one of their first protests for unionizing as well in the game industry. I think very recently, or I believe it was their first, or first I'd seen signs of. So that might be something that becomes as a result of this if it's so global.
It's
yeah.
yeah. I know it's like I didn't. Not I don't know if it's naivety, but I didn't realize in America it's quite literally you get an email and it's like pack your desk up and out the door.
I mean, that happens here.
Yeah, it's mad. I know. Yeah, but
like-
it's just I can't concept that because even inside like industries I've worked in, hospitality and stuff, if something's going wrong and the business shuts, it's like right, we've got to finish up the next 6 months because we have to, we can't, and then
Yeah.
yeah. Whereas it seems really like cutthroat. It's just we're cutting it, door gone, by.
Yeah, I think some of that comes with scale as well. Like the
Yeah.
bigger the company gets, the more it's come through 5 levels of hierarchy, and the end is stop, rather than there's a conversation or there's people close between the decision and the the end resulting people who are influenced. And there's so many emails like that. It's just gross as a general business
I
practice.
I say I know someone that found out about redundancies via Twitter or X, whatever you want to freaking call it, in the company they work for. I was like, how is that in
That's
any way,
insane.
shape, or form good working practice? To
I mean, layoffs have always happened. I think it's naive to say they haven't, but it's this scale of it that's the issue, and it's the layoffs have happened for me since 2017. Like I've worked for companies that have closed because they've run out of money, but mostly indie studios, and that's understandable. But we're talking about billion-dollar companies that are now doing the same thing,
yeah.
which is
So
wild.
let's move over to Paul. What did you said you had something that you were maybe going to talk about?
Well, well, I was kind of interested in seeing the size of the kind of Chinese game industry expanding at the moment in its own ways. But it's very kind of hard to tell because I've been over to China before. I used to learn Chinese. Got friends who live over there who are and some who are currently moving over. And it's been interesting to see. Obviously, in the last few years, there's kind of been a bit of a rise of Chinese AAA games. The flip side of that is, I guess, more recently there's also been layoffs of the overseas connections to the Chinese companies, which are obviously very big companies. So to not focus on the layoff side of that, there seems to be potentially a growing industry in China, potentially positively in terms of skilling up the development side over there, maybe introducing more developers. Because I don't think it's clear whether there's a kind of an east and western divide as in terms of getting Westerners out of the organizations rather than getting rid of outsourcers or overseas. So potentially that might open up a huge amount of funding or jobs for Chinese studios for people to be on site within them. And also a rise of skilled talent over there because the leverage that a lot of Chinese companies have got is kind of unprecedented a lot of times. I remember I went over to Kunming for a few weeks some years ago now, and I came back to the UK and I thought I'd come back to the 80s. And it took me weeks of adjustment, and so I think it should never be kind of underestimated how quick something can scale up over there that just gets turned on and suddenly 20 games appear.
Yeah,
So I think that'd be an interesting one to watch.
it's becoming, I think, quite clear that there's money to be made in games, and people aren't stupid. And I think, like you've said, are there going to be companies pop up that do it on different scales? And like you've said, is there going to be 20 games coming out of China in next year that we weren't anticipating and they've come out of nowhere? Because, like you've said, China, when they do something, they do it big.
Yeah, I mean, there's always been a strong Eastern market just for different games or different, South Korea is very big on like competitive games. Their esports is,
Oh,
I think,
esports is it's a whole.
stronger than everyone.
Yeah,
But switching back,
I don't know
sorry,
the name of the video, but there's a YouTube documentary about esports teams in Korea, South Korea, and it's like professional footballers. They live in a house with training camps inside the house. They have staff members that cook their food for them, and they have strict diet regimes, fitness regimes. It is unreal over there, and I know the main game's League of Legends that I've seen it on it's a League of Legends team, and it's like they're playing for Arsenal in the Premier League. They get up in the morning, they have welfare checks, they have diaries they have to fill out, they have to report to certain people, they have to eat certain things, work out, like actually be in the gym for a certain amount of time to ensure they're healthy, and then spend 12 hours playing League of Legends or in front of a whiteboard talking tactics. It's like there's going to be a Michael Arteta somewhere over there soon with a slick back hairline that looks like a Lego man talking about tactics on League of Legends. It's just unreal.
Yeah, when I taught at college, they had an esports course, and they were talking about healthy eating on that, so it kind of ties in.
It's just the exact opposite to every gamer that I make the joke all
Yeah,
the time with. I go to an event and they're like, "What's the buffet like?" I'm like, "If it's not deep fried, I don't want to eat it because I'm that stereotypical gamer." Is there pizza, energy drinks?
I mean, they are sat at their desk all day. I guess they've got to keep on top of their health so they don't don't die at the desk.
Yeah, they don't die at the desk. Jesus, that took a turn. Yeah. So I've come with some more. It's not even good news. Fable 6 got like massive. Fable was some of the games I've. Fable 6, Fable 4. Is it 4 or 6? I can't remember what I was going to say now.
Don't know.
Oh, I'm a tit. I've got 6 in my head, but it's not.
Is it 5?
It's Fable 4. I don't know why I had 6 in my head. I knew it was 4. Got pushed back to 2026, and there's speculations. There's been discussions about why it's been pushed back, and Xbox being Xbox, it's not too clear. There's no deep meaning behind it. One of the reasons I've also put down to is it's the year of the GTA that everyone is scared of releasing
Yeah.
anything in the final quarter of the year because everyone's going to be playing GTA in the final quarter of the year. And
Definitely.
yeah,
Definitely.
I think that's it. It's one of the impacting factors. Call of Duty hasn't announced their title for this year yet. None of the sports games I know of have announced their release dates for the final quarter that normally release in the final quarter. Borderlands is the only game I know that's given us a set date for this year that was a big release, because I really do think everyone's going, well, GTA's date's not announced yet. And it's
It's just, I think it's too risky for companies to release whilst GTA is going to be coming out. Even with just an announcement of it, people go and hyperfixate on GTA rather than any other game.
Well, I mean, there was always that survive till 25 thing, but then when it's kind of expanded on to 26, I'm not sure if there's a kind of global plan of survival anymore. And I think within that, everyone's kind of keeping the cards until they feel that card might be received well.
It's gone from survive till 25 to can we fix it in 26 almost. It's It's
I mean, it's catchy. We can get behind that.
Yeah, we need to pattern that quick. Let's do a Warner Brothers. It's not. It's all right to, like I say, we'll say all the time. It's all right to laugh about it, but fuck, it's mental.
As long as we can avoid 2027, the games industry's in heaven.
Oh God, here we go.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, cheers. It's not been a bright week for gaming news. I can't even sit here and go, oh my god, this game's got its announcement date, or there's been this been announced, or that's been announced. It's just been one of them weeks where it's just bad news.
I don't know if it was this week or last week. New Batman game has been announced by Warner Bros. So that's kind of good news.
Ooh, is that? I didn't see that. Ironically.
Yeah. I only know that because I reached out to a recruiter. I saw it somewhere about a new Arkham game being in development, and then I realised I had one of the lead recruiters for Warner Brothers on LinkedIn, so I reached out. And I was like, "Listen, do you hire remote?" And they said no. But then I was like,
working on Batman Beyond game.
Yeah,
Oh,
they were-
nice.
"Yeah, they don't hire remote, but depending on how much they would offer me, I would definitely consider moving to work on it."
Yeah.
Well, I mean, depending on how they've set it up, there might be outsourcing companies that aren't under Warner Brothers that may
Yeah.
still be working on it. Although, who's working on art, I'd have no idea to.
No,
Even
that's I didn't realise
speculate.
that had been announced. That's cool. So there we go. We've got some positive news.
Yeah.
New game from Batman coming probably 2028 because it'll be late.
Yeah. I mean,
And-
they've got to undo all the shit from Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
so.
Oh god, what a dumpster fire that was. Right, we are now going to hand over to our regular hostess with the mostess, Cameron. He's done a pre-recorded piece, and it's a new segment that he's been working on. I'm just going to double check I'm saying it right because he will moan at me that I always get every segment wrong. So we're going to hand over to Cameron for this first instalment of Playing It Bluntly.
Accessibility podcast called To Put It Bluntly.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this new section of To Put It Bluntly, creatively titled Playing It Bluntly. So this will be a semi-regular section where myself and Wobbles, or in this case just me for this episode, we'll go over what's coming out in the next month and just discuss what we're looking forward to playing, really. So this one will be more of a just going over what's coming out in March 2025. Releases are starting to pick back up again after the New Year lull. So the first thing coming out is on the 4th of March and is DLC for Power Simulator, which is Wallace and Gromit themed. And I am of the opinion that there's only two things you can say about Wallace and Gromit. Either you've never seen it, or you love it. I don't think there's anyone out there that could say they've watched Wallace and Gromit and hate it. If you do, comment in the comments, obviously. That's where you comment. But yeah, so that's going to be quite interesting. I think you'll be able to clean the trousers from the wrong trousers, maybe the train set as well from that film, the spaceship from A Grand Day Out, the sheep shearing room from A Close Shave. I mean, there's so many possibilities. Future Lab usually knock it out the park with their themed DLCs with like Shrek and Warhammer. They've all been quite good and something I've really enjoyed doing. So that's out on the 4th of March. Out on the 6th of March. Coming out on the 6th of March is Split Fiction, which is the newest game from Hazelight and the batshit crazy genius that is Joseph Fares. It's the story of two authors, one who writes sci-fi, one who writes historical. And their stories get melded together. So one second you're fighting aliens on a cyberpunk themed planet, the next you're riding dragons over a vast forest. The possibilities are really, really insane. You get to play as sausages at one point, which, yeah, just goes to show the creative vision of Joseph Fares is unmatched in terms of originality, in my opinion. And yeah, that's going to be out on the 6th of March. And you will probably see a stream of me and Wobbles playing it at some point, I would imagine. Just because, we I think it'd be a game that's right up our alley. So yeah, look out for that. Coming out on the 14th of March, but the 7th if you buy the Super Awesome Mega Early Pay Me More to Get Early Edition, also known as the Bloodline Edition, or the Deadman Edition in this case, is WWE 2K25. So it's an expanded roster of over 300 different superstars. The staples of the series return, such as the created wrestler story mode known as My Rise, the universe mode, the GM mode where you book the shows, and of course the showcase mode, which has followed like the story of Rey Mysterio, John Cena in recent years, and this time focuses on the Anoa'i family, which is probably the family in wrestling with the most members. If you can think of it, most Samoans from the last 20-30 years have been wrestling. They're probably part of that family. So it all started with the High Chief Peter Maivia, The Rock's grandfather, and obviously The Rock's included in that, and his cousins Roman Reigns, the Usos, and then you have Rikishi, Umaga, from before. There is a really extended family. It's going to be interesting to see what you can do in that story mods, in the showcase mode. So it's gone a bit different this year. Usually you just play through the matches as they were, but this year you get 3 different options. You can play through matches as they were. You can play through matches but change the outcome so that the other person wins. Or you can even create history, so you can have legendary, like the Wild Samoans, a tag team from the 70s and 80s, versus a modern tag team like the Street Profits, for example. So it's going to be really interesting when all them matches are revealed and come out. And then obviously, without saying any more, really, is the Island, which is similar to the NBA, I think My Park series is called, or the My City. I'm not an NBA fan, but it's a 50-person online playable space where you can wrestle other people, buy branded clothing such as Nike and Jordans. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I feel that since 2K20, they've really got a handle on the franchise. Taking that year off, I think, helped wonders. So I think a lot could be said for taking a break. Assassin's Creed did the same, and look how that turned out. They brought out the RPG sort of element. And speaking of Assassin's Creed, the next iteration of the franchise marches onto consoles on March the 20th. So this is it's been delayed twice. Previously, it was originally due to release in November, and then got pushed back to February, and then pushed back to March. Set in feudal Japan, I believe. I'm not really there with my Japanese time periods. But you get to play as a samurai and a shinobi. 2 playable characters. One has caused a bit more controversy than the other, but enough said about that. We will see how they handle a game that everybody's been wanting for years. I remember, like, back just after the Ezio trilogy, people really wanted it, but they always seem to avoid it. And then Ghost of Tsushima come out and hit that spot that Assassin's Creed, I feel, could have done earlier. But we're finally going to get it. There's 2 different playable modes. There's canon mode, where your options are chosen for you as the story was intended, or there's the RPG mode element, which you can pick your own decisions, who to kill, who not to kill, and you have that freedom. So yeah, that's coming out on the 20th of March. And there was Tales of the Shire that was due out in March, but as of recording has just been delayed to July. So I was going to talk about that, but obviously it's not up till July now. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. I hope the podcast has been good so far. Mikey's probably doing an awesome job. And yeah, speaking of that, back to Wobbles and Mikey for the next section of the podcast.
Accessibility podcast called to put it bluntly.
everybody, and thank you for that segue there, Cameron. Once again with the glorious Mikey and Paul. It's that time of the week where we challenge Paul's game knowledge. This week, he didn't realise he was answering the questions, so this could be very interesting. Paul, what game did you pick this week?
I picked Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Please tell me you've at least completed the game.
I completed it till I found a game-breaking bug at 29 hours.
So this could be interesting. I'm hoping the questions aren't too hard. So we, as you listeners will know by now, at the end of the series we will take the winner of the charity challenge and donate £50 to the charity of their choice. Paul, you've sent your charity, and I think it is an incredible charity. Would you like to just name the charity? Cameron will put the link in the dump below. But yeah, Paul, if you want to explain what the charity of your choice is.
Yeah, it's a slightly unusual one. That it's not quite a charity. It's a third world microfinance organisation, and it's something I've kind of put money into for probably the last 12, 14 years. And what they do is they provide either low or no interest financing to every area of the world. And they go out and do due diligence with all the local partners or local people who could manage, oversee, and have perspective within that community of what that could do. And then that feeds back up the chain. And as a person putting money in as a donation, well, sorry, not as a donation, as a loan, your part is zero interest, so you're not adding any interest to that. And everyone's got their own profile, exactly what they want to do with the money. So you might be able to loan directly to someone in agriculture in Nigeria, and it tells you a bit about them. They've written out their profile. It'll tell you about the lender, the sub-lender who's looking after the money, and their reputation and all of their statistics for loans. And you can loan to literally any area of the world. They support refugee camp finance. They support people starting their own business. And this is literally in every area of the world. And they've loaned some number of £1 billion since they started. And they, I think last time I knew, they had a repayment rate of 98% from this. And that's just directly to people who have no access to finance. And so it's been brilliant. I've been supporting it for years.
No,
the setup.
Yeah, I think it's so different. And when you kind of put it in the group, I was like, wow, that's so good. That's incredible. Because you're giving opportunities to people that probably wouldn't have had them to do different things previously, or supporting them, as you've said, if it's a farm or fair trade and things like that. I genuinely think that's such a great idea and a worthy cause. But now it's the time where you are going to be put under the scrutiny of me and Mikey, because it's going to
Well,
be...
if I fail the questions, I'll make up the donation.
No, you don't have to.
It will go in. It will go in.
So, I was going to say, I've got 5 questions here of varying difficulty. The first 2 are multiple choice to make it a little bit easier. I will start off with question number 1. What legendary city is the majority of the game based in and around?
ITT. Is that it?
Hold on. Would you like the 3 answers, or would you just like to straight jump in for Patiti?
No, that's the only one I could name.
So yeah.
If it's not that, I've got nothing.
Is that? Yeah, you're fine. Yep.
Amazing.
Tomb Raider is a long-running franchise. Shadow is installment number what in the series? 10.
What, since Tomb Raider ever came out?
Yep. 10 or
Jeez.
12 or 13. Is it installment number 10, 12 or 13?
Are you counting remasters and things?
The main installments. So
main installments. I'll go with 10.
It's 12.
There's so many of them since PlayStation days.
Mikey, I've just WhatsApped you question number 3. Because I thought I did it earlier, but I didn't.
Let me see. You WhatsApp me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you?
Hold on. Sorry, this is very unprofessional of me.
There
There's number 3.
we go. Okay. Oh, is that the answer at the bottom?
Yeah, don't read that bottom bit out.
Yeah.
Yeah, just read that bit out first and then the question.
I'm a professional, guys. Right.
Cameron's going to be like, this is the worst episode ever, but it's the funniest. It's fine.
That's what you get for delegation.
Yeah.
Right, you ready?
Yep.
What is the name of Lara's friend and companion?
Oh, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. I know who you mean, though. Yeah, I've got nothing.
No, okay. It's Jonah Mayava.
Yeah.
Mayava.
I didn't know.
My
How to,
what?
that's why I sent you it. So you've now got question
Oh,
number.
okay.
That's
Yeah,
why.
it looks like Mayava, but
Yeah.
Do I get half points if you don't know the answer?
Yeah. No. So I've sent you number 5, and I'll ask number 4.
Okay.
Paul, question number 4. You come across humanoid monsters known as Yaxil. What is the name of their leader / priestess? She's the big red thing. That's all I can describe her as.
I don't remember that.
She's
Maybe
like-
that's further than my thing got.
It's Crimson Fire.
Yeah,
No.
not sure if I got there. Maybe not.
am I reading the next one?
But as I said, we're making up the donation anyway, so let's not worry
fine.
about this.
No,
man.
it's all right.
Right and wrong.
Right, you ready?
Okay,
Yeah.
go on, hit me. I'll see if I can redeem myself.
What is the name of the paramilitary organization Lara has dedicated herself to stopping in shadows?
I can remember none of this stuff. I really thought these questions were going to be more like outward-facing ones for people listening.
Do you want to have a guess or
Or something international, I imagine.
no? Trinity.
Oh, it is Trinity. Yeah.
So, Paul got 1. We'll put a line under that as confusion on lack of. I don't know whether to say lack of communication, because we've sent the same thing to everyone else and everyone else has understood. So
That's all right. I'll take it personally then.
yeah. We did say this episode did need to come with a warning that it was just going to be interesting, to say the least. So just for shits and giggles now, because there is people that have got higher scores than you, we're going to give you a random letter from the alphabet that I will now generate. And you have 30 seconds to name as many games beginning with that letter as possible. Mikey, can you remember your letter? Because I can't.
J.
J. So,
Yeah.
Mikey got stumped. So, Paul, your letter is. I feel bad because this is solid.
That's right. If it's solid, I can have a worse score anyway, rather than having a nice letter and then getting a worse score.
I.
Aye.
I'll give you the time it takes me to open up the timer on my
Okay.
phone to think about that.
Inside.
Hold on. Ready?
Oh.
You've got 30 seconds starting from now.
Inside.
Yeah.
This could just be 30 seconds of me sitting here.
Yeah, that's what I would be like that with most of them.
Oh, there's got to be an island something. I bet Island Paradise if I looked it up on Steam. Probably that.
I've had to Google it because I can't think of any. So, Paul got 1.
Oh, that's all right. Put me out of my misery.
I mean, you mentioned one during the call.
Yeah, the other one I'm sure is real, so, you know, 1.5.
Do you want to go, Matt?
Yeah, Mikey, what have you got? Have you got any? Yeah.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
Indiana Jones. I Am Alive is an Xbox 360 game. Inferno, there is quite a lot. Injustice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have just guessed words really, and I
Insurgency
think I probably could have got.
Sandstorm. Yeah, there's a few. Iron Brigade, Isonzo. There isn't many. I'll say that. Like nowhere near as many as previously we could have probably gone with.
It's easy to get stumped on that.
Oh,
though,
don't.
that-
Yeah, it's so. I sit there because
Maestro.
Cameron sits there with a list of games normally, and I just generate the letter. So I'm booing it with you normally, and even I'm going, what? I can't. 'Cause your brain just instantly freezes. But so that is the end of this week's charity challenge. I think me and Cameron have maybe discussed at one point doing a donation for the lowest scored winner as well. So you probably you might get a donation to the cause from myself
I
and
fought
Cameron.
hard to be there.
Yeah, because yeah, but it's all well and good. It's all done in the name of fun. It doesn't mean anything, and that's been this week's episode. I want to just say thank you for Paul, because I'd say I've known Paul for 2 years now, and he's just honestly, and I think Mikey agrees, he's just a legendary person.
Delight.
Yeah, you are. You've dedicate time to so many good causes and so many different people, and your blind burners stuff, and you're just I like to spend time with, and just a real good person. If there was more people in the world like you, Paul, it'd be a better place. Let's just say that. I think.
There'll be a lot more alcoholics.
Yeah, that too. But Mikey, I can imagine you will see Mikey return, because I think he's going to be the replacement co-host from going forward if he's happy to do so. We quite like you, Mikey. You bring.
Well, I definitely can't replace Cameron.
No,
He's,
but when one of
he's
us
a
is
delight.
maybe when one of us is away or busy, we might be asking you to fill in again. So that has been
Yeah,
episode.
I wouldn't mind replacing you full time, Matt. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Cameron said that, didn't he, actually? Cameron turned around and was like, if you died, Matt, I think Mikey would be a great replacement. I was like, wow! Cheers. I don't know if that was on the recording, but he said it. It might have been afterwards. He was like, yeah, Matt, if you die, I would ask Mikey to replace you.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
both ready to trade out, is what you're saying.
Yeah, literally. He's literally just sat there and gone, that's Matt's replacement.
I bet you said it with a straight face
Yeah,
as well.
visually impaired, ticks that box. Better looking. I'm just like, you're just upgrading. That's all he's doing.
Oh,
But,
it's definitely not good.
yeah.
Windows 11.
Yeah, it's like going from Windows XP to 11, yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, this has been one hell of an episode of To Put It Bluntly. I've been the Wobbly Gamer.
Yeah, I've been Mikey / Cameron's temporary sexier upgrade.
And I've been Paul, and I appreciate you bringing me on, and it's been lovely chatting with you both.
See you next week, guys.